Welcome back, learners, to the second part of our lecture on sampling design. In the first part of our lecture on sampling design, we have covered what is sampling, what is sample, then we learned sampling breakdown, then we came across stages in sampling or process of sampling. We have learned the definition of population. We have learned sampling frame, and we discussed about sampling methods. Under that, we got to know that there are two methods of sampling. They are probability sampling method and non-probability sampling method. So as far as these methods are concerned, we have covered probability sampling methods. And in this session, we are going to learn about non-probability sampling methods. So the learners who want to learn about probability sampling method, they should check the first session of this lecture. So this is what has been already covered. So we have already learned the types coming under probability sampling. We have learned all these types coming under probability sampling. So now we have non-probability sample. So listeners and the learners, kindly check first session of this lecture to learn about probability sampling method and all other aspects. So now we are left with non-probability sample. So under that, we have convenience sampling, purposive sampling, and quota sampling. Okay. So let me tell the learners that unless you listen to lecture 1, you may not be able to follow this particular session here. Okay. So let me continue with non-probability sampling. Here under non-probability sampling, we have convenience sampling. So as we know that here in this particular method, we are not going to draw the sample in a random fashion, in a random manner. Okay. So let us see what is the convenience sampling. So convenience sampling, here the name itself suggests that it has something to do with the convenience of the researcher, right? So what it is, here it involves sample being drawn from the part of the population which is readily available and convenient. That means the population of the study should be available and it should be convenient to collect information from them. That means convenient of the researcher as well as willingness of the participant is involved in this particular method. So usually we use this method, that is convenience sampling method, while conducting pilot studies. Because here, this particular method, it doesn't help generalization. That means whatever you have studied by using this particular method, it cannot be generalized. It can apply to a specific population, but it cannot be generalized. We have an example to clarify this particular point. Suppose an interviewer conducts a survey at a shopping center early in the morning. So here the interviewer is conducting a survey and the time is early morning on a given day. And he or she interviews the participants who are available at that particular point of time. But what about those? What about those? Or what about the opinions or the information from those who do not open the shops or who do not open the shopping center early in the morning? or in a particular day. So the information which is collected, it is specific. It cannot be generalized. So in social science research, we do have one more method of non-probability sampling. We call it as a snowball sampling. Snowball sampling, which is similar technique where existing subjects are used to recruit more subjects into the sample. That means here, suppose a researcher goes to a particular respondent, collects the information from that particular respondent, the same respondent will recommend or will recruit more subjects. That means the let us take for example, suppose if you are studying about HIV patients, the patient suffering from HIV. Suppose you contact one HIV patient and you collect the information from him or her. The same HIV patient or the same participant will give you the contacts of few more patients suffering from HIV. So this is how you collect more and more participant in your research. So the first respondent is helping you to find the other respondent. So this continues until or as long as you reach a point of saturation. So that was convenience. So see how convenient it is. You can see the image here. Here the lady is asking a passerby, hey, do you believe in death penalty? Do you believe in death penalty? So it is so convenient, right? Let us move to the second method or second technique, we would say, in non-probability sampling. So this is nothing but judgmental sampling or purposive sampling. So what it means, here the researcher chooses the sample based on who they think would be appropriate for the study. So it is the researcher who is going to decide who is going to be included in his or her research. So the researcher is the judge, or where he or she feels that including that particular participant will solve the purpose or fulfill the research objectives. So this method is used where there is limited number of people that have expertise in the area being researched. So usually we try to include those who are expert in their field and they are able to solve the purpose of the research. Now coming to the last one, that is quota sampling. Quota sampling is a bit technical. Here, the population is first segmented into mutually exclusive subgroups, just as in stratified sampling. So here you are going to deal with the quotas as we had stratified in stratified sampling, as we have stratified the population while we're using stratified sampling. Similar technique is used. For example, the interviewer may be told to sample 200 females and 300 males between the age group of 45 to 60. So the number of females to be included is 200 and the male is 300, and the strata to be considered is the age group of 45 to 60. So this is one method, one way of dividing the population into quotas as we did in stratified sampling. So the second step, which makes the technique one of non-probability sampling, is in the quota sampling, the selection of the sample is non-random. So that makes the difference. So in stratified sampling also we have stratas. Here also we have stratas. But when we go for the second step, that makes it non-probability because the selection of the sample. So when we draw the stratas, we are going to select the sample in a non-random way. We're not going to use the random sampling here. The sample will be drawn in a non-random way, that is on judgmental basis. That is on judgmental basis. That means here the researcher is free to include the one whom he or she fits or seems fit to be included. Okay, so that's what makes this particular method as non-probability method. But here in this particular method, for example, interviewer might be tempted to interview those who look most helpful. So that is quite natural. Here the skill of researcher is involved. The researcher should be skilled enough to decide whom to consider, whom not to consider. Okay, so with this, I'm concluding my lecture on sampling design. Okay, so the learners are requested to follow both the videos, okay, which are separately recorded, so that they will have understanding about uh, probability as well as non-probability sampling. Okay, so if there is any comment or anything to discuss, the learners